What's up, you guys? This is Twinless Twin with some Murktide gameplay. We're playing the list that I got second place with in the challenge recently, featuring only 2 Ragavan. Why? Because we're still going to have a Ragavan in our hand, turn 1 on the play. You only don't draw it now when you're on the draw. Very strategic. Streaming live in Discord, but also recording for YouTube. Hope everyone's having a good night. Ooh, does our opponent not have an answer to our Ragavan? I like that. Bobble, decent draw. Get in. Alright, let's see what we get. Fatal push. No bueno. It does... It does let us have a treasure though still, so that's nice. Counterspell seems good to me. We'll draw Counterspell. Counterspell is very good with Ragavan, and this means we can answer a Bowmaster if that was going to be their answer. So we can cast Consider here. If they Bowmaster, we can just counterspell it. Yeah, I assume they do have Bowmaster, so casting the Consider here kind of forces it out. It doesn't force it out, but it incentivizes it. And then we get to counterspell. My MTGO is a little bit laggy. I wonder if it's the new update. I think I'll put Spell Pierce on top. If they're the ring deck, then Spell Pierce is pretty good. Oh, we drew another Spell Pierce. Well, now we're kind of just hoping they don't have Bowmaster, but otherwise Spell Pierce should be good here. Force negation, okay. Alright, hopefully they do not have another Bowmaster. That would be bad. We draw a land. Man, MTGO is lagging. I might restart after this, but I think it might just be the new update is having some lag. So not much you can do about that. Please don't play Bowmaster. Was Archmage's Charm? I will happily Spell Pierce Archmage's Charm. Wondering? Okay, I'll cast Shieldred. Man, we are. This lag is really not something that I usually get. Do they have subtlety here? Nope, they scoop. Okay, we'll take it. So it's unclear if they're playing Shadow or the Ring deck. To hedge, I think we should probably bring in Cast into the Fire. Minor Misstep is a card where it's unclear if it'll be good or not based on if they're on Shadow. We could probably board at least one Stern Scolding. On the draw, we probably don't want these Ragavans. Then the other thing we don't really want is these removal spells. They showed us Shieldred, so it probably is the control deck, right? So in that case, we definitely want this Mystical Dispute, and we might want Subtlety. Subtlety just to fight their subtleties to resolve our Murktides is kind of the idea. And also to fight their Murktides, which they might have. So does anything else look good? On the play, I think you are supposed to board Ragavan back in, maybe, but it's still really not great. Maybe we're supposed to also cut this Lightning Bolt. They board up to 61 cards. A special strategy used to stop us from I don't know. Stop us from decking them with Ragavan. So, do we keep this hand or not? I'm inclined to keep. We're on the draw. We have Bauble. If we draw land, we have Shredder. We have a Pierce. We have Subtlety for a Bowmaster, which we might be happy to trade for some tempo because we have double iteration. The upside is definitely there, though there is a chance we get punished if we don't hit that second land in 4 looks, right? So we draw a card, then we bobble ourselves. We can fetch, that's 3 looks, then draw an additional card for our next turn. That's 4 looks. With 4 looks, I think that you're meant to keep this. Alright, well, in that case, how does that change things? I think it does change things because, well, now that we've fetched, we should have thought about it a little bit more. But I think that playing the DRC here is pretty good, with only because we have subtlety to protect it. And the goal is to find our next land drop. Let's put that in the bin. Now subtlety gives us delirium, actually. Shieldred's Edict. Okay. So we can like evoke subtlety here to get delirium. Let's pitch Shredder, I think. Because our plan will probably be if we draw a land, go DRC Spell Pierce. I guess they could have had their own subtlety there. That was the risk we were facing, I guess? Let's show the game log so we know where they put this Bowmaster. On the bottom. Yeah, hitting a land here and gonna go DRC with Pierce up would be amazing. We don't. I still think we're supposed to play the second DRC. Because even if they edict us main phase, it's like the same as us having a DRC in play, and the Pierce is probably better used to stop like a one ring maybe. So even if they do main phase this edict, which might be wise if they have it, or if their plan for the turn is to edict, they probably should edict now instead of letting us untap and have spell snare, spell pierce up. Lorien revealed. Alright, and they do edict us. But we still have a DRC. And we draw a land, so now we are going to be able to iteration next turn. I think they will be playing cautiously around counter magic, so I don't expect them to jam something here, unfortunately for us. Obviously, we'd ideally like them to just like jam the one ring into spell pierce, but I expect that won't be what they do. So they shock and pass. What does this tell us? I think Subtlety is a card that would definitely be on our radar here. They could have like Snapcaster Shieldred's Edict. Upkeep Stop. Feels like Snapcaster Shieldred's Edict. Oh, just another Shieldred's Edict. Okay. Well, that resolves if I stop lagging. Wow, I don't know why my computer is lagging like this. My apologies. Even though it's not my fault. Alright, let's restart Magic Online. Well, you guys didn't see my thumbnail, or my home screen. No one noticed that. Okay, let's just pretend it didn't happen. Alright, so Shieldred's Edict gets us. And we draw a DRC. So now we have the question of, do we want an iteration? They could definitely have counterspell here, right? They did shock, so they're saying to us that they do have something. They could have been playing around spell pierce though. If we iteration into counterspell, how bad is it is the question. If their follow-up is the one ring, it's pretty bad. So I think we should just play DRC. And then if they do counterspell this, we'll have to evaluate if we want to fight back. Obviously, the upside of iteration, finding a land there is pretty high. However, I think that the risk of iteration not finding a land is also pretty bad. So they just had Bowmaster, which is fine. We're not really worried about that card here. Like, we can cast into the fire it if we really want. And they're going to play the One Ring and we get to Spell Pierce, so this kind of just went about as perfectly as we could have asked. And I guess we just just considering the potential plays the opponent could make, just like was super rewarding there, right? Like, it's tempting to jam the expressive, but what if the expressive didn't hit a land? We just get hosed. Like, this DRC was always going to be a pretty good play to make, just to put pressure on the opponent, and now we get like super rewarded for that. So I think now we are going to iteration. We get more looks towards that land. We'll top a land. Counterspell to hand. Spire Bluff to exile. Unholy Heat's an answer for Shieldred. My guess is they board Shieldred out in this matchup. So we might just end up heating their Bowmasters. I guess they could have a Murktide. If they play Murktide, we can like heat plus cast into the fire. So maybe we should just take this 2 damage for sure, and then evaluate from there. Because we're winning this race pretty easily. Cast into the fire does cleanly answer a Bowmaster plus a 1/1. Passing back. I think it's okay to untap here. I think that we want to save the heat because they could have Shieldred in their deck still. And this Bowmaster just really isn't very threatening. So I think it's just better to play extra cautiously instead of, getting greedy and giving them an opportunity to punish us. Are they going to play another Bowmaster? Huh. It's still fine, right? Like, we take to 12, then take 4. I think we're still just winning the race here. So that's nice. Yeah, we could cast into the fire both Bowmasters on end step. If they... Oh, man. I mean, what do they have here is the question, right? Like, I guess if we cast into the fire both Bowmasters and then they have, like, a removal spell for DRC, it's fine. So in that case, I think it's okay in end step to cast into the fire. I guess we could also just heat a Bowmaster. No, let's just do cast into the fire. The other option here is just to untap with Counterspell plus Mystical Dispute. I could see us getting into some trouble though if they like actually have a removal spell and they cast it in their upkeep or something like that. I think this is a top. Um, with the plan being if the DRC hits them this turn, then we just pass with Dispute Counterspell up. If the DRC doesn't hit them, like they remove it, then we could just play Murktide with Dispute up, I think, and be in pretty good shape. So I think we don't need to play the Murktide here then. Be wiser to just protect the DRC at this point. Okay, and we win the match. Awesome. Let's go to the next one. I guess the good news is the lag ended. How's it going, Charles?
I'm good, thank you.
Blue, black, 2 free, huh?
Mhm. How's your cat going?
Things are going good. Things are going good. Or did you say how my cat is going?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the cat is going very good. He's super cute.
Yeah.
I posted some pictures in the Discord. Did you see those yesterday?
Yeah.
Just one of the many benefits of the Merc Guide Discord now. It's my first cat, so extra
Mhm.
excited. It's actually my roommate Theo's cat, but it's like
Oh,
we all kind of
sure.
love the cat and share the cat. I'll be very sad if I ever have to move away.
Mhm.
What are we playing against? Oh, Delighted Halfling. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we have the answer.
Oh,
We gotta fire that off here. Force negation, not a bad draw. Yeah, I think it
probably
is
a
correct
loyal.
to bolt on our turn. Yeah, we don't want to let them float a mana. So Windswept Heath Stomping Ground. This feels like it might be the Omnath deck.
Yeah.
I don't think there are very many other decks. Yeah, it's 4 color for sure. So probably just Omnath. They didn't play Ren and Six, but they also couldn't play Ren and Six. They could just have Leyline Binding here, but let's go ahead and go DRC plus Preordain to fill up our graveyard a little bit. So normally I would keep Counterspell, but uh, I'm pretty interested in finding a land, and I'm also pretty interested in putting cards in the yard for this Murktide, with the plan being that I have Murktide plus Force of Negation, which, stops Leyline Binding or Teferi. So given all of that, I think I'm gonna bin it. It could be a suspicious
Mm.
play, but I think I will. Um, and I think I'll bottom DRC and top Subtlety along a similar line of just like the plan being Murktide and then protect it from like their one answer, hopefully. They do have Leyline Binding here. As expected. Often the 4 color deck has like pretty telegraphed plays because they have jamming to fairy here. Okay. We will force pitch Murktide. So if we draw a land, we're in business. We don't draw a land. Alright, let's cast Iteration. Now we'll top the counterspell for sure.
Mhm.
Um, if they play Omnath here, it's fine. If they play Teferi, it's actually kind of fine. Well, it's actually not really fine, right? We don't have Delirium, so we can't Unholy Heat it. Yikes. Okay. Alright, I do not want them to play Teferi. If they play One Ring, also pretty good here. They can't. Can they cast Omnath? Or they just have Ren and 6. Ren and 6 plus like Leyline Binding, probably.
Mhm.
Given that they shock here. Oh, wait. They had to shock. Okay, never mind. So Leyline Binding is not necessarily likely. We do have to think about if we're willing to risk that, though. I think the answer is yes. I think we just have to make them have the Leyline Binding. If they do, it's really bad for us, but if they don't, we just win, basically, because we'll have like Subtlety and then counterspells up, or a counterspell up. So I think here it's worth the risk of them having a second Leyline Binding. I guess we don't have to play an 8/8 here. I guess they could have Omnath. If they like had Omnath, maybe it's worth it. Or they're hard casting Solitude. One Ring would be potentially pretty good here. I mean, we could have passed with Counterspell up. This Red and 6 becomes a bit of a problem though. I guess we could have Unholy Heated this Red and 6 if we had left one instant in the yard, because we didn't really need to hit them for all this damage. Though we are live to Bolt now because they
Mm.
fetched, so that is something for sure. They put Solitude on top.
Mm.
They have to be not feeling great since we pitched Counterspell to our Subtlety. They probably can suss out that we have another Subtlety or another Counterspell.
Okay.
We just need them not to have Leyline Binding, which they did put Solitude on top, so
Why did you play the second? The
yeah, it's a good question why they didn't play the land. I couldn't tell you. Okay, nice. So we get to bring in this. I think we like one of these. Cast into the fire. I think I want to cut my Ragavans. And I want to shave at least a bolt. Then maybe I want to... No, I think Pierces are pretty good. I think you can shave a Murktide in this matchup. Because they have a like Teferi, Leyline Binding, Solitude. So Murktide's just a little bit less reliable.
Mm.
We do have to be careful about how many creatures we have in our deck. But we have Preordain, so our plan is to Xerox them still. We have 11 creatures because we have the Shredders, the DRCs, Subtleties, and Murktides. I think
Mm.
that's pretty reasonable. Do you guys think there's anything else that you'd want to do differently?
Not really.
Oh yeah, free spells are good, and I agree. Noe. Cards to consider would be like Stern Scolding,
Mm.
like maybe a Fury. I think Pi likes a Fury in the matchup.
Yeah. We talked about it. I mean, I asked you the question this weekend. Last weekend.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know what to say.
It's tough. It's just like, what do you actually want to cut for the
Yeah.
Fury, right?
Yeah.
Because I think especially on the draw, you want to keep at least two bolts to have
Yeah.
answers to their
I
thing,
think.
their delighted halfling, because that card is
Yeah.
just like very, very good if we don't have it.
Yeah.
Let's submit this, see how it goes. I think like Scolding could replace a lightning bolt on the play, because then we can just have Scolding for their halfling turn one, and like late game it answers. All right, this hand I think is a keep. It's just
Yeah, but
obviously, I think that you like to have answers to like Ren and 6 in your hand, so in that sense, this hand is a little bit sketchy, but I don't think you can mulligan this hand ever, so we're not going to. Also weak against Halfling, so weak against their like kind of proactive draws, and then good against their reactive draws where they're trying to. Oh, whoa. They are playing
wow.
Preordain? Okay, that's let's show them who the better preordained deck is. Come on. Come on now.
I wonder if they play Karn also.
Maybe.
Possible. Uh, I know there's like Karn disc. I forgot what it is, but
Maybe they
it's
are
like
playing Karn.
Karn.
I saw that list. I think it sounds a little bit sketchy to me, but I think we can bobble ourselves once to see if we want to
Oh.
fetch. Alright, I think we want to fetch because they didn't play Halfling. So let's fetch. I guess we can. I think we should probably just draw here. Um, I'm
Yeah.
saving the second bobble because of Shredder, but my thought is we could draw. Okay, fetch did nothing. Um, we're representing Pierce and Snare. Maybe they respect it.
Mhm.
We could also, like, if they do play Ren here, we get to consider and look for a counter.
Okay. Um,
I guess we'd been this. We have Delirium with the Preordains, so we could find Unholy Heat and be fine. But it would have been nice to have countered Ren. Okay, so we can play Preordain and then play DRC if we don't find Unholy Heat, I think. Might be the best line here. I guess on the other hand, we could play the DRC first and then Preordain to get the extra Surveil. If we think that we would rather play DRC instead of Unholy Heat either way. So do we really want to Unholy Heat this Ren in 6? I guess like if we can just attacking it seems like unlikely, right? I think we'd rather just heat it if we find the heat. And I'm willing to give up a Surveil for that privilege. But do we want to just take this DRC? I think we'll bottom this one. Shredder. Well, now we know to hold the bauble. So they fetch Triome, but now they don't have white. That was
I get it. Don't have everything.
strange. What do they have then? Do they have no play?
What the fuck?
I guess let's start by attacking the Ren in 6 and see what happens. Then we'll play Shredder. Then we could play Bobble, or we could just play Bolt.
Mm.
I think we can Bolt here and save the Bobble for next turn to get another Connive trigger. That's my thought. Oh man. I would have really liked to have that spell pierce up, so we did get punished. Maybe the Bobble was just the better play in case we hit. Because we got like 3 looks at a pierce
Um, Also, we could have find dispute, I guess.
or dispute. It's like 3 outs to good cards. Might have been worth it though. Now I think we. Maybe we're still. No, I think we're supposed to bin this now. Because it doesn't really protect Murktide very well. It only protects Murktide from Teferi, but it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't protect it from Solitude or Leyline Binding at this point in the game. 'Cause it doesn't really protect Murktide very well. It only protects Murktide from Teferi, but it doesn't protect it from Solitude or Leyline Binding at this point in the game. 'Cause it doesn't protect it from Solitude or Leyline Binding at this point in the game. I think we'll actually discard a Murktide. Or we discard Cast into Fire, but then we're very weak to the One Ring. Let's discard a Murktide. Because if they play the One Ring here, they'll get a little bit of value off it, but we do have a pretty good board presence, so potentially we can ride that to victory. Is Omnath or the One Ring? Omnath. Okay, well, it's pretty good, but if we just find like an Unholy Heat, we're fine against this. So that's the good news, I guess. I guess we have the option of like jamming Murktide here, but because we did find the Stern Scolding to protect from Subtlety, then they have to have Teferi or they have to have. I think playing the DRC and getting a bunch of looks at Unholy Heat might be better though. Also like Counterspell maybe. Okay. Ben. Okay. This time let's get rid of the Cast into the Fire. I'll play another Bauble. Ben. Top, I guess. Not really happy to let this Omnath stick around, but maybe they
I
don't have a
mean,
fetch land.
no, they don't have a land because they didn't play a land with them that.
That was the turn they played Omnath. They just got their fourth land.
Oh yeah, true.
Um, but it is still possible they don't have one. I think if we draw Unholy Heat off the second bauble, I think we would heat and take down Counterspell. Okay, well, don't have to worry about it. Also just good to bauble, because if they double spell here, then we're gonna get a connive trigger. Okay, they do have. I think we knew about the Windswept Teeth, right? Because of Ren and Six, maybe.
Yeah,
They still have Stomping Ground
true.
in hand as one of their cards. They're at 12 life, but we're hitting them for 9 here. They have to be a little bit afraid of bolts. We did already mill one, but they don't know how many we have left in our deck. And we get to see a lot of cards here, potentially. Okay. Let's just Stern Scolding this. They can't really cast much with just a Steam Vents plus Forest. We're looking for untapped land off the Stern Scolding, so we have Murktide plus Counterspell next turn.
Mm.
Ren and 6? You sure you want to cast it? Okay. We'll connive. Ren and 6 resolves. They might as well attack with their Omnath here, right? So they have Stomping Ground, Fetch Land, 3 unknowns. They don't have One Ring in their hand, I'm pretty sure. Or like to fairy because if they did, they would definitely fetch uh, a plains there, so they could
Mhm.
double spell. And I don't think they have leyline binding either, so I think their hand is just very clunky. Might be flooded. They might have another Omnath.
Yeah, so,
They could have endurance, like evoke endurance maybe as a plan. But at that point, I'd be surprised they didn't like shock and try to hard cast endurance. So I really don't know what they have. They could have another solitude plus white card, but what would the white card be? I feel like I'd want to cast all the white cards.
uh,
I'm gonna let the solitude resolve. Because now we know that two of the cards in their hand are bricks.
mhm.
And we're gonna put them down to we're gonna put them down to 6 and then play a Murktide that will definitely be lethal. Who knows if they have like Field of Ruin or something, so I'm just gonna not represent any.
Remove spell.
Yeah, you just never know, right? Like I'm not gonna represent removal. It's kind of a pointless bluff. I'm just gonna represent the counter spell in case they have like they could have Beseiju, right? Like you can't Beseiju a basic land. Is that
Yeah. Um,
so? That actually is. Oh, I guess Beseiju actually we can get Steam Vents. Never mind. We have one more Steam Vents in our deck. I did cut a Steam Vents for a fetch land in this league because I did feel like we had a bit of a problem with getting land type in our graveyard for Delirium
mhm.
without putting DRC into play first and trying to surveil it. And I don't
Yeah.
want to be doing that against Bowmaster decks. So I added a
But,
fetch land and replaced a Steam Vents. That means we only have 5 fetchable lands and 6 fetches, so it is a little bit sketchy, but I think that it's worth it. The other option is replacing Fiery Islet. I've liked Fiery Islet. I'm not convinced I want to cut Fiery Islet yet. Alright, I am going to counterspell this. We get to also, they did it in our upkeep instead of our draw, so.
mhm.
Oh, do they actually have Solitude here? They don't. They're just gaining life.
Mhm.
Subtlety isn't good. Unholy Heat is good. The reason I say subtlety isn't good is because I think that the game is kind of reaching its like climax, and if we don't win in this turn or like the next turn, then our plan would rather be we'd rather probably like unholy heat their Omnath and then try to have the DRCs win, like if they had another binding for our Murktide or something like that. But my guess was they had nothing.
Mhm.
All right, I have time for one more match before I've got to run. Let's see if we can make it a 3-0. Thanks everyone for hanging out in the Discord. Always fun. Hmm. I feel like this is a hand we unfortunately have to mulligan. We just don't have any looks at that second land, so it seems too risky. On the other hand, this hand seems very good. I'm just not sure what we're supposed to put back is the only question. It's really interesting. I want to keep the Bauble and the DRC and the Preordain. So I guess the cards I'm considering putting back are Force of Negation, Murktide Regent, Counterspell. Our opponent kept 7. I think I'm most leaning towards putting back Force of Negation. So I think I'll do that. The reason I put back Force of Negation there is because I think it might be kind of hard for us to actually pitch a card. Like we want to play this Murktide, but we might be like forced into pitching the Murktide instead.
Mm.
Uh, you should probably like think a little bit longer about this Murktide because we kind of just told our we kind of just told our opponent
Oh,
that we have a Murktide in hand potentially. Oh, and they're playing Scam. Maybe we're supposed to bobble and upkeep, I guess. Like there's some advantages to doing it now because we could hit a free spell. No, I think you're still supposed to bobble now on the on like on average, even if they grief scam us here. Obviously, if they grief scam us, it's not ideal, but
uh,
they just have a monkey, just a monkey.
mhm.
Iteration.
Do we go to second main phase or do you?
That is a good question about going to second main phase here. Yeah, we probably should. Um, yeah, I like that. I like that call. I think we're gonna start on Preordain because if say we bobble and see a bolt on top, it's like a tough call if we're supposed to keep it or not. With Preordain,
Mhm.
we get a little bit more information
Mm.
first to then dig towards and see what we find. So let's do. So I think this is actually top here because the Pierce will help us protect our DRC so that we can answer this Ragavan. Oh, I guess the problem is they can upkeep the removal spell. That's pretty gross. Um, Even then though, like the Pierce could protect our Murktide from a Terminate. Also, the Pierce would get no, it wouldn't get exiled. So they'd get a different card. That's pretty interesting. All right, let's put it on the bottom and look for the removal spell. Because we also have the fetch to like do the bobble trick.
Mm.
And but yeah, basically because they can upkeep the removal spell, I think that it's better to do it this way. They didn't upkeep the removal spell. Maybe they just don't have one. Dothy Voidwalker.
Uh,
Alright, let's fetch and cast. What are we casting on Holy Heat on? Probably still just the Ragavan. They could have Fury. It's not the worst if they have Fury. This also does put the Unholy Heat and whatever we surveil into the graveyard, so I think that's pretty nice in terms of making a big Murktide and also keeping Delirium. Spell Pierce. Well, uh,
mm.
this is tough. This is tough. I'm so I feel like they probably don't have Fury Scam or Grief Scam because I think they would have made those plays in the opening turns. Um, so what do they have? It's like very possible they have Terminate, which
We'll
is
get
what
that.
I'm kind of afraid of. I kind of want to like try to iteration to set up a counterspell plus Murktide, but my fear is we're feeding the Dothy a lot of value so that they could potentially scam us next turn. So I think because of that, we probably just want to do this. I kind of take it back because we have to then take away Delirium, right? Or no, we get to keep Delirium. Land, artifact, creature, sorcery maybe. Make a 6/6.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm in for that. Let's just do that. Um, wait, oops. Land, instant, artifact, creature. Yeah, I think if we lose Delirium, the Murktide is just kind of a non-starter. But because we get to keep Delirium, I think I like playing the Murktide here. Because of my read that I'm pretty sure they don't have Fury Scam, I think our Murktide is
Mm-hmm.
potentially somewhat safe. I don't know. It's hard to say. There's like a pretty real chance they do have the Terminate in this spot. Um, but I don't really love passing with Counter Spell up. Fable? Oh, deal.
Sure.
I am very okay with Fable, the Mirror Breaker resolving. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously it's pretty decent here, but we're just gonna try to erase them. So in for 9, um, then we shock because we want to have Spell Pierce up with Counterspell.
Mm-hmm.
It could be relevant if they have like double Terminate or something like that. We have to assume they were on no answers beforehand. Also, if they do something like Thought Sees Us, I guess we can let it resolve now. And then they would have to burn their Dothy Voidwalker to like force like if they go like Thoughtseize plus Terminate, for example, we beat that. We don't beat it immediately, but we're probably in pretty good shape against it. They do Thoughtseize us. Okay. They take Iteration. So I guess they're potentially iterationing for. If they cast Iteration with Dothy, I think I would Spell Pierce to try to keep them off of like Undying Malice on Dothy Voidwalker? That's fine. I'm not afraid of the Dothy Voidwalker coming back into play after this turn. Like, they can cast this iteration here, and we're fine with that. Well, we're gonna Spell Pierce the iteration. Because we don't want it to find, like, Terminate plus Grief.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's, like, the way they would win, potentially. We'll put expressive iteration on top. If they have like grief plus attack with goblin shaman plus terminate here, then we can iterate and look for a bolt. Okay, but we win. So sideboarding, we're supposed to bring in these six, and I'm cutting force negations. I'm cutting Ragavans. I actually think Spell Pierce has gotten a lot better against Scam, so I'm a little bit less inclined to cut both of them. If I do want to cut them, I probably just want to cut like one copy. Because of Fable of the Mirrorbreaker, that's why I think it's gotten better. And then because a lot of them are playing Leyline of the Void, I think Shredder is pretty uncuttable. Even though I don't think Shredder is necessarily amazing in the matchup, I think Shredder has gotten a lot better because they have Leyline of the Void, and we want to have like a plan to sidestep that basically. Maybe Cast into the Fire is just not necessary unless they show us Hearse. Like maybe we just make them show us Hearse and then we'll broadcast into the fire. Otherwise, it's obviously it's not very good. So let's just do that. We have like Pierce and Snare and counter spells for Hearse, but I think most of these decks have been on Leyline of the Void recently, so I'd rather not board in the play with the seal with fire, whatever the card is called.
Oh,
Alright, so they keep with 7. We're also going to keep. Uh-oh, they have Leyline of the Void. Okay, they have
oh,
two.
oh
Okay,
my god.
okay. Well, that's actually better than one Leyline in the Void because it means they're on 5 cards. I actually also think they're like not maybe not supposed to put this in because
Oh my god.
oh, okay, that's bad. Well, it's not the worst because we have one heat. If we can find another heat or bolt, we get to kill their Fury and then they're on nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Double Leyline into Scam Fury. Yeah, tell me about it. Tell me about it. Okay, here come the chump blockers. But our plan is going to be like DRC and then next turn DRC plus consider. Hope to like find a Fury also, right?
Yep.
We have a lot of cards that actually answer this here, so not feeling horrible about our chances. Counterspell, I guess.
I hope they don't have a Turkish.
I mean, if they have Orcish, it's pretty bad for us here, but I think they would have just main phased it. I'm gonna main phase this Consider because we could find Fury, and I think if we find Fury, then we don't want to, or I think we're not going to respect. I don't know. I think I think we want to bin this. We get 2 extra looks if we bin this with the Consider. And we find Shredder anyways. Okay, well, I guess it's good we binned it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna attack. I'm gonna chump block with my other DRC this turn. I guess attacking there is pretty greedy. If they have like Bowmaster or something, we might just still want to chump block, so. Oh, piece of candy. Maybe we still want to like wait a turn on this. We could just upkeep it. The thing is, they're not doing anything. They could have another Undying spell, right? That's like the scary thing here. If they have another Undying spell, it's really bad for us. But the other play here is like Shredder plus DRC digging for another land, but then we'd have to get rid of the counter spell. So I think we should just upkeep here. We do get to surveil too, so we're gonna like assume that they are finding they have an undying spell here. And if that's the case, then we know that like we really need to find Fury. So that's what we're just gonna be digging super hard for. Darn, they do have it. That's unfortunate. Alright, we'll top Preordain though. They even get to kill our DRC. So much value. Hmm. I think we'll get rid of the subtlety here. We need to hold on to the red cards so that we have a pitch for Fury for our Fury. I think we'll top both of these and just dig super hard next turn. We get a little punished if they like have a Bowmasters and main phase it or something like that. But otherwise, also we could just like get our Shredder to be big enough to like bounce off the Fury or like at least trade with a Bolt or something. Yeah, it is possible we like grow our Shredder to be big enough to. Oh, they evoke a Fury as the. Okay, so this is fine. I think we get to Preordain, look 6 cards deep for a Fury.
We have two Fury, right?
Yep, we have 2 Fury. Uh, bottom top. Hmm. Maybe we're supposed to bottom that. Come on.
Some incentive.
I guess we just we can like play a chump blocker for a turn. Is that like a safe play, or should we just like go all in on finding the Fury here and go bottom bottom and then consider? I, I don't think bottom bottom is horrible. Let's go bottom bottom and see what happens here.
Oh.
Bobble. I guess we can bobble ourselves, or we can bobble them, or we can play.
Mm. Ah,
We can bobble them to
if
see
we
if we can
bubble,
chump
yeah,
block with DRC, or we can bobble ourselves to see if Fury's the top card. But
yeah,
like Bobble Self seems super unlikely to give us relevant information, whereas I think Bobble Them gives us more relevant information. Because if they have a removal spell on top, like Bowmaster or anything, we just have to go for it this turn. They have Marsh Flats. Alright, let's just play DRC and pass then. Oh shoot, wait. Okay, this was bad.
yeah,
This
I
was
was
really
reading
bad,
it.
because now we don't have a red card to pitch. Oh
Yeah,
god.
that was going to be my question.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
that was... Well, I think we weren't gonna... I think we were gonna be in trouble anyways, but yeah, that was bad. Are we just dead? I think we're just dead. Or we can find a chump blocker, but then dead. Alright,
oh,
well, they got us.
that's very.
That was a bummer. think we'll just submit the same. It's possible we want the other spell pierce, but I don't really want to cut anything. We saw like a million cards and just didn't find a Fury there, so that's too
Oh,
bad. This hand is very nice. Like, it is very, very nice. They don't have a ley line this time either, so that's good news. Scam is an aggro deck, so I do like to fetch tapped Steam Vents
mm-hmm.
sometimes when I can, even though we could draw a bauble. I think that like the games can definitely come down to life point margins because they have stuff like Bowmaster and kind of try to burn you out at the end. So just like holding the fetch forever and then having to fetch shock is pretty risky. All right. That's also a pretty good draw. I would have liked for them to have played a creature by now, but I guess they're
I think
not
they have
going
a
to do
bonus
that.
for
Yeah, they must
anyway.
have Bowmaster, right? Alright, so we'll Spell Snare Bowmaster. Good call, Charles, yeah. Always, if they pass with 2 mana, Bowmaster. Maybe Terminate, but probably Bowmaster. Fable? Or what is it? Thoughtseize. Okay. Well, they're going to take one of these two cards. Probably the Murktide. If they don't take Murktide, they're telling us they have Terminate in hand. Um, if they do take Murktide, it's probably less likely they have Terminate. They still could, but then they'd probably be more inclined to take Subtlety, I think.
I mean,
They do take Murktide.
but I still our win counting thing. Oh,
And they played Dothy. Let's heat Dothy. Hmm. I think we'll run out the Shredder. We still have Bolt up if they try to Fury scam us.
yeah.
I think that Scam also just plays less Fable. Okay. We're not going to Bolt on end step because I think that there's like a decent chance we can maybe trigger the Shredder if we wait to Bolt until our turn. Or like even
Mm-hmm.
Bolt on their turn, right? Like say we draw Counterspell, we Bolt the Fable token in their upkeep, and then Counterspell is our second spell and we get to Connive. So bolting now would just be a bit unnecessary, basically. Just drawing like an untapped land would kind of punish that. Unfortunately, they might just be on like Hardcast Fury here, which could be really hard for us to beat.
Mm-hmm.
They discard 2 lands. Fable gets a lot of value, man. Fable gets a lot of value. So in the beginning of combat, we will bolt the Goblin Shaman. Uh, don't want to let them cast this Fury for free. Like if they ditched both their lands and then Now they don't have 5 lands. That would be pretty nice for us. If they do go Land Fury, it's a pretty tough spot for us. I'm not sure what we're supposed to do in that spot. Oh, they should play another Fable here. EE for 2?
Utgångspunkt?
I don't think we can spell pierce it. I mean, I want to, but it's really bad, yeah. Damn it. I mean, we could. I'm pretty surprised they sideboard EE in
Yeah,
against
samma det.
us. I don't really understand what the idea is there. Man, that is really tough. That's really, really tough. Because I don't feel like the Spell Pierce is going to get value, but also piercing this is just so bad. Like, they just pay and then next turn they kill it, so we're pushing through 2 damage. Yeah, I'm not going to pierce. Like, if we draw a land here, we might be fine. I mean, we can bolt them to connive.
They can go to the bolt
Yeah, I feel like we want to keep the bolt.
for at least the Fable.
Okay, okay. They don't have a land, right? So we know the Pierce is live against this Fable. So we might actually get super rewarded. Okay. So they play their Fable here. We Pierce, and then we draw a land, and we have double subtlety up. Boom. Just how we drew it up. Just how we drew it up. If they have an Undying spell here, they get Fable value on us. We could not bolt their Reflection. I think that's a pretty reasonable play to make. If we draw a land, then we're not very afraid of the Reflection anyways. And we can just like race. Untapped land. Nice. Okay. Yeah, I think it's pretty heads up not to bolt there, because if they just get to like Undying their Fable,
Yeah,
then they just get another guy. They get to chapter 2 next turn, and they're just like running away with the game, basically. So, do they draw another Fable? Are you kidding me?
response we kill. What you can.
No, I think we just still ignore it and like flash in a subtlety and just try to race them. I think that
Oh, they could try to make a copy.
even then we can flash in subtlety and block, right? So like, and they know about a subtlety, so they can't even really attack here. Oh, they do attack? I think we flash in and block anyway. Oh, they could Undying then. That's what we were talking about. But if they
Yeah.
Undying then, is it okay? Because then we get to attack for 3, have a subtlety, another subtlety up that they don't know about. No, I think we should just take this still. I'm like pretty sure they have an Undying spell. Because don't they not play Bolt anymore?
Uh,
I'm
it's
like,
maybe two.
I'm pretty sure they don't have, or maybe they have like 1 or 2 bolts. Yeah.
It's two that
I
have
don't
balls.
think they have bolt here. I think they have the Undying spell.
Mm.
From a statistics probability, right? They have like 5 or 6 Undying and 2 bolts. So I don't think we want to block here with the risk of the Undying spell. They get another Goblin. They get 2 Chapter 2s. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the Undying spell is just fine at that point. Okay, let's block. I changed my mind again. I mean, well, what's like? Do we even care? We're flashing this guy. If the problem is if they have bolts, they're bolting anyways, right? So let's assume they don't have bolts. They have Undying Spell. They're gonna chapter 2 and they can ditch it anyways. But we hit them for 3. We're 16. Okay, let's just do this. Let's see if they let us move to blocks. Well, I guess that's stupid. Now we're kind of gonna block, right? Because they could have like Ragavan or something. Right, so they hit us to 16. We hit them to 10. They hit us for 4. We hit them for 6, down to 4. I think because of the second subtlety, I feel like it's okay. Oh, were they just like...
What the fuck?
Maybe they were just trying to bait out the subtlety.
They have push.
Or they have push? Okay, they have
Okay, yeah.
push. I guess that's another one that makes sense. The push they would have been able to push anyways next turn with the goblin, right? So,
Um,
do we want to preordain? There's a lot of really good hits with this preordain, right? And we're also probably gonna bolt their goblin shaman.
Make go on.
Yeah, Murktide is like the greatest hit, but like also counterspell's fine.
Ooh,
Iteration's also pretty good. And Stern Scolding. I guess we just top both, right?
yeah.
Top like that.
Yeah. Um, do we bold the? Um,
They discard Feign Death. So
do
it
they
feels like
want?
they have an extra Feign Death probably.
Yeah.
So let's just bolt the goblin. I think we pass here.
I think I have like the answer. Like,
Hmm. Well, this is kind of awkward. We're probably just supposed to subtlety this. The risk is if they have Fury in hand and they draw top deck an untapped land. But even then, we would have... Oh, I guess they have
um,
Fable plus Bowmaster now?
yeah, that's
But we can Iteration. They put it on top. So they can like main phase this Bowmaster if they want to. They don't.
okay. Ooh,
Alright. Now I think we let the Bowmaster resolve, I guess? Well, maybe we're still supposed to. We're probably still supposed to counter the Bowmaster. Because even if they have Fury, they can't Fury and copy.
man.
And then we get to Iteration if they have Fury, so...
Yeah.
Oh, I guess they could have Evoke Fury plus copy. Then they're stuck with the Reflection versus our Iteration. That's also fine. The Bowmaster, the reason I want to counter the Bowmaster is because if their last card is another Terminate, then we really want to. Oh, they just have another bowmaster. Okay.
It's,
Weird play by them to keep the other bowmaster. Then I'm not sure I really understand that. As long as they don't try to terminate here, we're in really good shape.
yeah.
Doffy is fine.
Theory will be really good.
They can't lethal us next turn, right?
Could be.
9, 11. They could potentially deal 11 if they like end step make a copy of Doffy and then untap copy Doffy attack for a lot.
Oh,
Okay, that's a pretty good draw though. Now when they go to end step copy Doffy, I think we just bolt the Doffy. I guess we just cast iteration also now. If we hit bolt, we win. I think we can't hit bolt, right? We used all our 3 volts. But we can try to hit a counter spell
uh,
or another Murktide.
well, I've got the marked as well.
Oh, we should
That,
if we had main phase the Murktide, it wouldn't have been
yeah, but,
lethal. Oh no, it would have been lethal. It would have been lethal. Okay, I miss lethal.
but with the Dalty, never mind.
No, no, it still would have because we had bolt. 2 plus. Yeah, I miss lethal. I didn't think about hitting another Murktide plus the bolt being lethal. I definitely should have main phased the iteration. I was too set on I thought that we weren't going to cast the iteration because I didn't want to give it to them with Dothy. But then once we saw that they had once we drew bolt, it changed things. Yeah. So I mean we punted, but there's no justice in this world. I guess on the other hand, you could make an argument that this line gave them no outs also, I'm pretty sure. So GG's. Awesome. Alright guys, well thanks everyone for watching. We'll finish up this league another day. That's gonna do it for this recording though.